And here we go again. Hi there. Welcome back once again, everyone, to Cast Iron Wednesday, which I know I've been saying this every Wednesday, but well, it's because it is Cast Iron Wednesday, which again is become something of a tradition among many of these smaller YouTube cooking channels. In that a lot of people have been doing videos, especially about cooking in cast iron on Wednesday, hence Cast Iron Wednesday. And what can I say? I've had a lot of fun doing these live videos here, and I appreciate, as always, everybody who shows up for them. Nonetheless, for this evening, I'm not cooking, as you can say, although I am going to be cooking some iron in the oven here because, yeah, spring is here and it's definitely time to do some spring cleaning. And that, of course, means if you've got cast iron in your home, you know that means it's time to start seasoning again. Because, yeah, especially pans that get a lot of use and also pans that don't get a lot of use tend to, the seasoning tends to wear down, and then it's time, of course, to, build it up again. That, of course, is one of the great reasons why cast iron lasts forever, because, of course, you can put on your own seasoning, and when it starts to wear out or it's damaged, all you have to do is re-season the pan, and then it's as good as new, and you can keep on cooking with it. So, hey, Peg2. Hi, William Hurt. Not having an oven that works, I've always had to make do with stovetop seasoning. I tried a method from a YouTube article by Jens Davidson, and it is very, very effective on the bottom. Oh, I don't doubt it. I mean, after all, putting this onto a direct heat will certainly burn the seasoning there onto the bottom of the pan. I know that it's difficult to do the top, and my guess is, having not seen that article, I'm presuming you probably have to turn the pan over at some point or another. I am not at the point where I can lift my huge 15-gallon cauldron again yet. There was a time several years ago where I actually did lift that beast and put the whole thing up here on the stove upside down in order to season the top part of it. So, but nonetheless, I mean, I could do the usual thing that you see in these all of these viral videos about how to maintain your cast iron. You know, what is seasoning? As if we don't know already. I mean, I'm sure you've come to this channel really, well, I hope to learn some stuff about cast iron, but really the thing about seasoning, of course, is that everybody who owns a cast iron pan has to do some seasoning at least once, whether it's brand new and you just got it from the store, or whether you've may have accidentally developed a little bit of rust, as a couple of these pans here have, and whether you have just one modern day cast iron pan, or whether you have a whole collection of vintage cast iron, sooner or later seasoning is something that we all have to do. And that's really not a problem because it's really not difficult. It's time consuming largely because most of it consists of waiting, you know, while the coating burns into a layer of of actual seasoning on the pan, and then you start doing it again and again and again. And of course, that's where we get into that is, of course, one of the most frequently asked questions on Facebook's cast iron cooking group, or really any group at all that deals with cast iron. You know, they say, what's the best method for seasoning cast iron, and what's the best oil for seasoning cast iron? And of course, there really is no one answer to it. I mean, that's one thing about this hobby, is like, it's not like there is one right answer and they're all wrong. And it's more like if you ask 10 people about how they season cast iron, you're probably going to get 12 or 13 answers. And of those, I'd say maybe 11 to 12 of them will be the right way to do it. So everybody has their own opinions, and all I can do is show you mine. And hello again as well to Paul Fuhrer. Hi from Missouri. Been using cast iron for many years with no issues. I have mostly Lodge and BSNR. Oh, congratulations to you. So, Papa Dan, welcome back. Yeah, tornado and severe thunderstorm came through. Well, hey, at least it looks like you survived it. So, it happens, and better that way. Better that the only thing that happened was you weren't able to make it last week. So, William Hurt, lids always seem to require some special attention that evades me. Any comments on that? Oh, definitely, yes. I have a Griswold lid in the oven myself as well. Some of these pans I've already heating up in the oven. Some of them I have to give a quick wash, and that's going to be the first step. Actually, the first step is I have my oven right now heated to 225 degrees Fahrenheit. You can start at 200 if you want to do seasoning, but I find there's really not a problem with bumping it up just a little bit. The modern day method for seasoning cast iron seems to have originated with our friend Jeff Rogers, the culinary fanatic. I think his video on cast iron seasoning from several years ago is the first one where I know of where he advocated doing the seasoning in several steps. You start at a lower temperature and then work your way up to a higher temperature for seasoning. And the end result, of course, is a beautiful looking pan. But rather than just stand around here, I think I'm going to have to do something, almost as exciting as standing around. Namely, give you guys a quick view of my sink. Oh, boy. Because I've got a few pans here that I do have to give a quick rinse over before I put the seasoning oil on them. And actually, I guess that's one thing to mention. I got this on just enough so that it's hot, but of course I don't want to burn my hands. I mean, that's not pleasant. And let's see what we got here. The first one should obviously be this little treasure here. I showed the bottom of this a week or so ago, and now you get to see the front, where I've actually had this kind of in storage for a few years now, and unfortunately, because of mishandling and the like, some of the seasoning has come off, and it's developed some rust. Some seasoning has come off, and it's developed some rust spots, unfortunately. So yeah, that's why I've got to do it. This one here is a Diamond 8 pan. You see the number 8, the diamond with a number 8 in it. And these are believed to be among the last pans produced by Favorite Stove and Range after they were purchased in the late 1930s by Chicago Hardware Foundry. Anyway, this is not going to be a video on doing really, really heavily rusted pans. That's going to have to come some other time, I guess. Right now, it's just, suppose you've got some light rust or otherwise the seasoning has come off. So what do? Well, the first thing we do have to do is get rid of this little bit of surface rust. And here's where it looks like my sink's a little blocked up. How nice. Oh, well. And here's where we actually get to do something that shocks a lot of people, and that is wash cast iron with soap. Because, in fact, good old dish soap actually is not bad at all for removing light surface rust. As you can see, this is nothing more than Dawn. And that means now I get to give this, actually, hang out some steel wool here. Let's get this away. Because it's not, I mean, there's still a fair amount of seasoning on this pan, but this will take care at least of those rust spots. As you can see, it's actually does not take really much effort at all either. And of course, that just means we're going to have to give this a thorough rinse. The question, of course, is does this mean soap is going to get into the seasoning on the pan? Well, I have not seen that happen, and I've done this on a number of pans. So, no, none of the ones I've done have ended up with causing the food to taste like soap or anything like that. Because, again, seasoning is just simply carbonizing, or it burns a layer onto the pan. And a little bit onto the back. And with that, we give it a nice, easy rinse. So if you have light flash rust or other developed a little bit of rust on your pan. I mean, it's really that easy. I do have other things here. I have Barkeeper's Friend, for instance, or even Comet. But just plain old dish soap is really just fine for very light rust. And that's just one example here. I mean, as you can see, let me quickly pull out a paper towel. That's what I should have done. Always forget something. So anyway, that's the first step. Quickly dry it off before, more rust develops. But again, as you can see, the rust spots are still there. They still have to be seasoned over. But as you can see as well, the surface rust has been taken care of. And it's, as I said, it's really pretty much as easy as that. All you need is a nice scrubbing. I used steel wool there. And now from here, we apply our coating. And that, of course, is a subject in itself. For this one, I'm going to pull out my favorite cast iron seasoning, Crisby. Crisby's been around for a few years now, as you know. I know that there's this other company called Buzzy Wax that has, actually, I can't put the thing on this yet because this isn't warm enough yet. I've goofed. I'm going to have to put this in the oven. So let's do that. And heat this thing up first. Yeah. And from here, let's move on to a couple more. Here's one I found not too long ago at Savers. I believe this was one of those Walmart cast iron cookie skillets. I think they probably sold this one on Valentine's Day. And you can see why I could not resist picking this one up. So, for a little bit of variety on this one, especially since I don't know where this came from, since I got it at the store. I mean, I have no doubt that it's safe, but you never know what could have happened. So for this one, I think I will throw on a little bit of Barkeeper's Friend, which is an excellent rust remover. So on this, where did I just put that steel wool? Oh, here it is. All right. And again, as you can see, there's really nothing to it as far as light rust is concerned. I mean, you don't have to completely strip the pan unless you want to, that is. Right now, all I'm doing, as you can see, is just taking care of the rust spots, and then I'm just going to season over it. So I feel that's really all I need for something like this. And when this is done, hey, I'm going to have a nice little heart-shaped pan so I can make some heart-shaped pancakes, or even omelets, or maybe a frittata, or maybe a baked egg, more likely. So, and it's really no more difficult. That's too hot. No more difficult than that. So, like before, let's get this thing in the oven to heat up. It's only going to take maybe about, I don't know, maybe about 10 minutes or so for these things to heat up good enough so that we put on the seasoning. Hey, Hugh, excuse me 1 second. Hey, Trouble. Oh, they're not? Oh, no, well, hold on. I got him. You, guess who got out? Okay, here he is. Here it is. Thank you. Sorry for the delay there, folks. Anyway, let's get this one in the oven. Clang, clang, clang. One thing about seasoning cast iron, it's very hard to do it quietly. And this little guy you've seen maybe in a couple of videos. This is my froggy trivet. Let me do that again. It's my froggy trivet. So Unfortunately, he's also had a bit of wear and tear, so I'm going to have to give him a quick seasoning. So once again, we give him the BKF treatment. I want to be sure that folks can see this. Oh yeah, about this froggy trivet, he has some writing on the bottom that says made in Taiwan. I'm not sure if you can see that very clearly or not with the, especially with the water and everything like that. It says VGINC, whatever VG is, and underneath it says Taiwan. So yeah, this cute little frog comes from Taiwan, not from America. I'm sorry to say that, folks. Still, he was quite attractive, and that's why I could not resist picking him up. And do a quick wash off again. And he will go in the oven. Only a couple more, and then we'll be able to move on to the next step. So from here, I really got to stop moving out of the frame here. I don't want to bore you folks. Anyway, as I said, all I have to do now is just, give him a quick dry, because again, he's going to dry thoroughly in the oven as he's heating up to the temperature where he'll be able to melt the seasoning oil. So into the oven he goes. Finally, 2 more little pieces. I'm actually amazed with this one. I've shown off my Spags skillet a couple of times. Well, as a matter of fact, this ashtray skillet. As a matter of fact, this is a second Spags one. I acquired this only a couple of weeks or so ago. Yeah, this was actually on eBay. Someone was selling a 3-pack of these ashtray skillets. This is where you may have seen the picture I posted on my webpage and Facebook. I found an ashtray skillet that said Atlanta Stoveworks. So I was, quite happy about that. It was part of these 3. The other was this Spag skillet, and the third was an aluminum advertising ashtray skillet for an oil company I had never heard of. Well, I figured it would be worth it. I mean, for no other reason than, again, we got 2 nice cast iron ashtray skillets. What am I going to do with a second Spag skillet? Well, I'm hoping maybe there's like a museum or something here in the New England area that I can donate this to. But I guess I'll find out soon enough. Spags itself, for those who, I know, folks from New England, a lot of people from New England remember Spags. There are no bags at Spags. Spags, unfortunately, went out of business. They finally tore the building down about maybe 3 or 4 years ago. And you know what's in its place now? A Whole Foods market. Yeah, and they've even got this big placard on the wall that says, proudly continuing Spag's legacy. No, I think Whole Foods market is probably the opposite of everything Spag stood for. So no, I am not going to donate this to the Whole Foods market and where Spags used to stand. Let me give you a nice close-up of this again. So, all right. And the last one. The last one is yet another ashtray skillet, but not skillet, an ashtray. And actually, this is one that I don't mind using as an ashtray, or correction, my roommate doesn't mind using as an ashtray. I don't smoke. Yeah, this is a cute little cauldron that I found at a flea market. And I couldn't resist it, especially because it would make a nice ashtray. I mean, that way, well, we don't have to use the ashtray skillets. We can use this. This has markings on the bottom that say DE15 and 1, whatever that means. Somehow, I'm thinking, I mean, this is almost certainly not Lodge, and because it's not Lodge, that means it has to be Asian made. So, that's just how it is these days. And that's one reason why I don't mind using it as an ashtray, because really, there's really no collector value in this. And so might as well use it for what it was made for, which is, again, an ashtray. Nice and deep, too. So anyway, I just threw in some Dawn dish detergent there. And then after we rinse this thing out, it'll be in the oven, be able to talk for a few more minutes. And then from there, we will get down to applying the first coating of seasoning. Because, yeah, as I mentioned, this is really, again, how this shows you, I hope, how easy it is to take care of light surface rust. So that if you've got one of those incidents where a family member said, "Hey, I washed your cast iron for you," and scrubbed off all the seasoning, and now as a result the cast iron has developed some flash rust. Well, as you can see, it's really not that hard to treat it and re-season it. Or just as well, the family member who decided to soak your cast iron for the afternoon. You get the idea. Those little things that happen to all of us. So yeah, no, there's no need to disown them. Just of course, after you tell them don't do that, one thing you could do. It's a little bit still. Maybe I'll use Barkeeper's Friend. One thing you could do actually is make them season it for you to make up for it. All right. Of course, this one as well, because it has cigarettes and cigarette ashes and the like. I'm never going to eat out of this one either. So, but there's no reason why we still can't season it. This handle here, I'm not sure. Maybe it's bronze. I mean, it's a natural color. That's not a paint, so maybe it's bronze or brass. And with that, we are ready for this thing to go into the oven. And it'll be heating up for a few minutes, and then we will move on to the next step. So, let me quickly dry this thing off. And having said that, let me distract you folks for just a second. Yeah, the oven's pretty full now, which is good. For the record, as I said, that spag skillet came with a 3-pack. Here are the other two. Here it is. I showed this one off not too long ago. This is the Atlanta Stoveworks skillet. I'm pretty sure this was painted over. It might be enameled, but I think more likely it was painted. This was the real reason why I got that 3-pack, because this was something I could not pass up, especially since I've got this great love for Atlanta Stoveworks cast iron and BSR. The second was that second spag skillet, and the third was this one for, again, an oil company I know nothing about. It is aluminum. It is also extremely light. It is really, really light. So, yeah, I mean, even though it's aluminum, it's a nice little piece in itself. So, all I can do is find a use for it one way or another. So, anyway. All right, now that we've wasted that much time, now we've got to waste a little bit more time as these things heat up in the oven for about maybe the next 10 minutes or so. Anyway, thank you everybody so far for putting up with us. So what do we have here? We have Jeff Burke, or should you say he's going to hop in the oven? Oh, yeah, no, that was... Learned about using Barkeeper's Friend. That stuff's amazing for stripping old seasoning, Jeff Burke. And definitely, yeah. I honestly say that Barkeeper's Friend should really be called Cast Iron Cook's Friend, because it is wonderful as a rust remover and cast iron cleaner. Trouble for Prez. Is Barkeeper's Friend like Ajax or similar products? Yes, you can buy that at any supermarket. You know, Walmart, Home Depot. It costs something like anywhere between $1.50 to $2 for a big can of that stuff. So let me see. What else do we have? Soap is not the harsh treatment it once was. Yeah, that's certainly true. And they point that out about, you know, the argument of, can I use soap and cast iron? And the short answer is yes, you can, because again, I mean, modern day dish soap, while it is a good degreaser, it no longer has lye in it the way the older soap did. So older lye-based soap would have done a much better job of completely stripping the seasoning from that. Here, all I did was simply scrub off some surface rust. So, looks like you're ready for World War III. Well, I'm working on it. I am not one of those doomsday preppers, unfortunately. I don't have the patience for that. I prefer to do the cooking. To see your wrist is better. Yeah, I finally stopped using the cast completely last Saturday, and I've been using my wrist pretty much freely ever since. It is not completely healed, unfortunately. I do still feel some twinges of pressure and even pain, and I still have trouble lifting heavy pieces of cast iron, but I'm working on it, as you can see. Ugh. For instance, right now, I can definitely feel this in my wrist, but the moment I put it down, it's gone. So, yeah. So all I can do is just keep using it, and hopefully it'll all be 100%, maybe say by summertime or so. All right. Jeff's technique works best as well for me. Robert Beauvois, if I'm pronouncing that right. Beauvoir. My mother seasoned with lard. I've used white Crisco, and I have never had problems. Yeah, you notice there in the background, I've got a nice can of Crisco. So it was Jeff Rogers who taught me to use Crisco as well, and for good reason, too. William Hurd, when I was a kid, I washed a neighbor lady's cornbread pan in the dishwasher and got chastised. Well, as I said, I think the real punishment for that would be make them reseason it for you, show them how, and they will have a lot more respect for it after that. Shadow Walker XM, mom who came for dinner and to help out put my 3-notch Lodge in the dishwasher on heavy scrub. You know, actually, way back on the Cast Iron Cooking Group, I still have the photos for it. As an experiment, I put 2 Griswold skillets in the dishwasher, and I did that deliberately. This was several years ago. This was when I was testing the flaxseed oil method, in fact. I actually wanted to really test that. And the results, I still have those photos online, in fact. I probably should have posted a link to that. I'd have to look that up. But yeah, we're talking like, I don't know, 2013, I think, almost 10 years ago. Oh, good grief, that's a long time. But yes, flaxseed oil. Okay. When flaxseed oil became a fad, a thing, I believe that article was published in about 2010, and it took on like a cult of its own of people who swear up and down about it. There was even a published article in one of those cooking magazines. What was it? I don't remember. Cooks Illustrated, I think it was, in which they praised the joys of flaxseed oil seasoning, and they claimed, and this was why I did this with the dishwasher, they claimed they actually ran it through the dishwasher and with a squirt of degreaser on it, and they claimed that the flaxseed seasoning came out untouched. Well, that was why I had to take those 2 Griswold skillets, season them with flaxseed oil, and put them in the dishwasher myself. No, they did not survive unscathed. The seasoning was almost completely stripped away by my dishwasher, and when they came out, both of those Griswolds had a nice layer of rust on them. Light rust, though. Actually, that's the thing. Even though it took some elbow grease, it was not difficult to re-season those 2 Griswold skillets and put them back into use. One of them, in fact, is that Erie skillet that I've used a couple of times, and I've shown up on my channel a couple of times. So putting cast iron in the dishwasher, yeah, is a no-no. It's not going to damage the iron, though, fortunately. So the worst that happens is it will need to be reseasoned. So Grady broils. At 13 years old, I cooked eggs for my mom on Mother's Day in her 200-year-old Swedish pancake skillet, not knowing any better. Afterwards, I washed it and she nearly killed me. How about you actually go over today and take her 200-year-old skillet and season it for her the right way? Maybe she might forgive you finally. Red Dog, I messed up one of my skill and shoes and flaxseed. I hate that stuff. I had to completely. Oh, I see what you mean. Skillet. Yeah. In other words, you seasoned it with flaxseed. Yeah, that's the thing. Flaxseed, when you use it, it comes out with a really lovely sheen to it. It looks nice and black, and it looks all shiny and everything. What people have found is that it does not last, and it seems like after maybe a couple of years of use or so, it starts to flake, and that's what happened to me too. I did season several of my pans with flaxseed oil, and they looked great at first. But since then, in the few years since then, I have had to reseason all of them. The flaxseed oil just did not last in the long run, and it ended up flaking. So that's really the reason why I do not recommend using flaxseed oil. That plus the stuff is ridiculously expensive, and it has no use other than for maybe seasoning cast iron. I mean, you can't eat it. You can't use it as a daily seasoner, not like Crisco, for instance. So why bother paying $9 or more for a bottle of organic flaxseed oil, which is useless, when you can do just the same with a container of Crisco there, or other seasonings for that matter. Dish soap collector 34.5. Dish soap destroys seasoning, or is it just under constant cleaning? If you move backwards on this live video here, you'll see I just washed a couple of those pans with dish soap as well. It really did next to nothing to the seasoning, but it did a nice job of taking care of the very light surface rust. Again, the pans I've done here, all of these are very, very minimal rusting. The seasoning's worn down to that point, and that's about it. These are not heavily, heavily rusted pans that would require an electrolysis treatment for several days. None of these are like that. So that's a subject for another time. And Teach a Man to Fish. Hi, I haven't seen you in a while. I read that same article newly on my cast iron journey. I ditched it quickly because of poor performance and switched to grapeseed oil. Yeah. I used dish soap with my pans and was worrying a little. And no, the short answer for that, really, for any kind of seasoning or cleaning your cast iron is this. If it works for you, go ahead and use it. Because pretty much, as I said, I got to stand up now. Because as I said, and still my head is cut off. Because as I said at the beginning of this video, really, there is no one way to season cast iron or clean cast iron. It's not like my way is right and everybody else is wrong. This isn't math. This isn't rocket science. Again, if you ask 10 or 11 different cast iron collectors how to season cast iron, you will get maybe 12 or 20 answers. And almost all of them will be right. Some of them might say to season with flaxseed oil. Some of them might say, yeah, take your pan and throw it in the fire and that'll burn off the rust. No. I've gone over that subject too. Namely that, number one, fire does not remove rust from cast iron, because if it did, then why don't they use flamethrowers on all of those cast iron statues and bridges all across the country? So there's the short answer to that right there. And that's really a long subject in itself. Nonetheless, Grady broils. Well, I have that very 200-year-old skillet now. Congratulations. I wanted to ask if you would care for a very smooth antique iron like that differently than you would do a professional rough one. Well, yes, it is 200 years old. Cast iron is not indestructible. there is a possibility that, if you're not careful, if you drop it on the floor or the like, you could very well crack it. And of course, no, you don't want to do that. So I would indeed treat it much more delicately. However, I would still cook with it. I've got a couple of pans in my collection from the 19th century. So we're talking like 100, 150 years old. I've made jambalaya in my big 200-year-old cast iron cauldron, and they have all come out of it just fine. Hello. Pawpaw Dan says hi. Yeah. No, I know. Jamie's unfortunately a little under the weather again. Unfortunately, it's like it's like spring fever. So
they can know MS.
Yeah.
We're going to spread awareness.
Okay.
Multiple sclerosis and
Okay. Okay, as long as you don't mind. That's just it. Okay. Yes. All right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Jamie has multiple sclerosis. That's true. Yeah. I didn't want to say that because, that's the kind of private information that I would not want to spread on the internet. But if she doesn't mind it, then okay. Anyway, back to this. Evu has a very, very low smoke point. Yes, that's also true. Olive oil is not that great for seasoning. Okay, let's get on to using some seasoning right now. Oh, he got out again.
I know what you're thinking, buddy.
Yeah.
Sorry,
He lives up to his name. Anyway, let's get on to some seasoning now. With some cast iron seasoning here, and I've got a few examples of here. Oh yeah. That's one thing about Barkeeper's Friend, though. These are soap stains, and I'm probably gonna have to wash this shirt after this. But at least it's not going to ruin the shirt, though. It's not like bleach. Anyway, what do we have here? As I mentioned, again, good old Crisco. There's really nothing wrong with it. It does a really good job seasoning, and I use it regularly for greasing my pans after I wash them every day. I keep a little container of Crisco just for wiping and greasing my pans after they've been washed every day. I mentioned already I've got myself some Crisbee here, and Crisbee, in fact, is like a combination of Crisco and beeswax. And they put some other things in it. And the real reason I like this is not only does it do a great job seasoning cast iron, it also somehow cuts down on the smell when this is in the oven. I don't know how they do it, but yes, there is still some smoke. Yes, you still have to worry about the smoke detector and everything like that. But the smell with this stuff here is much better, or much more tolerable, I should say, than even using Crisco. On the other hand, there's really nothing wrong with using Crisco. It was because of that I made my own. I made my own little pieces of homemade Crisbee, and that I actually got some beeswax, which is also fine for seasoning cast iron, by the way. I got some beeswax, and I melted it together with some Crisco, and I found the best ratio for that was about maybe 1/4 Crisco, 3/4 beeswax. More than that, it just got too sticky and goopy. But I made myself some homemade Crisbee, and I've been using that to season my cast iron as well. As a person just mentioned as well, olive oil is not good for seasoning cast iron, only because it's got a very low smoke point. So Evu is also not even great for frying. There's really only so much you can do with Evu. I can't believe I'm saying Evu. Thanks, Rachel Ray. Anyway, extra virgin olive oil. It's regularly used for making pizza, and of course, it's great as well for dipping breads and the like. But for frying, I would rather use regular olive oil than extra virgin olive oil. And for seasoning cast iron, no. As I mentioned, I use Crisco. I have used canola oil. As somebody else mentioned, he uses grapeseed oil. Really, the thing to be concerned about is the smoke point more than anything else. A higher smoke point oil does a good job seasoning cast iron, which is why grapeseed oil is pretty popular. A lot of people do use good old-fashioned lard and bacon grease, which actually does not have that high of a smoke point, but it gets the job done. So, and I do not recall people complaining about after they've seasoned their pans with bacon grease. So, hey, there you go. Bacon makes everything better. Okay, olive oil is great with potatoes. I deep fry with canola. Yeah, deep frying right there. Yeah, as they say, that's a great way to add to the seasoning of your pan too. So it's great to fry potatoes with. And I use 5W30. Well, somehow I doubt that. Okay, well, maybe in your car, but definitely not on your cookware. Anyway, I've wasted enough time now, so let's pull some of these things out of the oven. Gotta get the camera out of range. And let's start giving these things the treatment they deserve. As I mentioned, I've got a few other things in the oven as well, including including the Griswold Dutch oven, no less. I've been giving this thing a lot of use, and I'm afraid the seasoning's kind of worn because I've been doing things like making mashed potatoes with it. So I've been boiling water in this fairly regularly. And yes, I do still advocate using bare cast iron to boil water. But if you do it too much, well, yes, it can affect the seasoning. And that's exactly what this is. That's exactly what's happened here. So as a result, I've got to put another layer or two of seasoning on this. And where did I put that? Here it is. Here's the Crispy stick that I'll be using to re-season this thing. Anyway, here's where Jeff's seasoning method comes in, which is, once again, as you know, or if you don't know, here's what Jeff Rogers recommends for seasoning cast iron. Namely, let's get a close-up here. There we go. That's a little better view. Namely, you rub it on and then you wipe it off, because you don't want too thick of a coating on it. You know, some people have said how I seasoned my cast iron and now it all looks goopy and it's got all of these spots and everything on it. Yeah, that's because they use too thick of a coating of oil, and so the oil pooled and it developed these spots that did not season quite right. That's why you only really need to have a very light coating. Some people, even flaxseed, for instance, they recommend doing this 5 or 6 times. Of course, that takes a long time. We're talking at least a couple of days or so. I mean, unless you really want to spend an entire 12-hour day doing nothing but sitting at home seasoning cast iron, which I've done. And yeah, this is what I mean. This particular crispy stick here, it's supposed to be apple. It actually has a nice scent to it, so I'm happy about that. That's what I mean. When this thing seasons in the oven, it's actually gonna, well, it's still gonna smell some, but it's not gonna be as bad. So anyway, I've rubbed it on and wiped it off. Now just a little bit on the outside. Jeff recommends using those blue shop towels because he says you don't want to get little paper towel crumbs on your cast iron. As you can see, I'm using a paper towel here. Don't tell Jeff. Nonetheless, again, I had this heating up in the oven at 225 degrees. Doesn't matter really if you keep it in the oven for half an hour or 2 hours of the like. I mean, 225 degrees is not going to hurt your cast iron, but it's hot enough so that it melts instantly. And as you can see, it's very easy to give this thing a really nice coating. And with that, it goes in the oven upside down. Because, yeah, it goes in the oven upside down so that if there is anything dripping, it'll drip off and it won't stain the surface. Let me see, where did I... Oh, great. Watch these wires here. Anyway, this goes here. Ugh. Yeah, you think there's enough cast iron here? And let's pull this out now. Actually, there's an. I'm gonna put this up top for now. Ugh. Boy, doesn't this look professional? Let me put this here for the moment. I still want to keep it hot. It's my froggy. There we go. Keep it here for the time being. Here's another one that I've actually put in for another coating of seasoning. Ugh. Ugh. And that would be the Stargazer skillet. Yeah, because, I mean, yes, I do enjoy this. I do not regret getting this Stargazer skillet, despite the fact that people have reported, and I will have to agree with them, that this thing is so smooth, it's been having some trouble keeping on the seasoning. So as a result, the seasoning tends to have come off here, at least the seasoning they used. Oh, yeah, brilliant. Why don't I? Thank goodness that was only 225 degrees. Okay, anyway, we're just going to do the same thing. Okay, take the old Crisby here, rub it on, wipe it around, and wipe it off. There's probably enough there that I can probably cover the entire pan with it, in fact, just from that little bit. Don't forget the handle. Yeah, you want to try covering every inch of the pan if possible, because that one part that you miss could very well be the part that, unfortunately, that rusts again. So just a little bit on the bottom. As you can see, I'm not even using very much. And rub it in good. And now from there, since this is next to the microphone, I'm sure you can hear all of this bumping around. A little bit on the underside of the handle and in the grooves. And with that, the Stargazer is ready to go into the oven, where once again we place it in the oven upside down. Ugh. This groaning as well, as I mentioned already, my wrist is not 100% healed. So it's a little stressful, but I'm not doing too badly. Don't worry about that. Just pointing that out. And here is that one that I washed just a little while ago. That little heart-shaped pan, which, like all the others, is going to get the Crisby treatment. And that's the nice thing about rough modern day cast iron, whether it's Asian made or even Lodge cast iron, is that I find that it actually holds seasoning much better, which is the reason why they designed it that way. That's a story in itself, which I've mentioned when we talked about the history of Lodge cast iron. But that is really the reason why you see, why is modern day cast iron so rough? The answer is yes, at first, in the older days, no, not so old now, not so new now, like maybe the 1960s and 1970s, they did stop polishing and grinding down their cast iron to a smooth finish. That was initially a cost-saving method. However, Lodge, of course, is doing great these days, partially because they pioneered the factory seasoning, the point where you can just take a Lodge pan from the store and cook with it right away without having to season it. And they intentionally designed their surface to make it easy to season and hold seasoning. They do, in fact, smooth down the surface using a completely different method. They do not grind it. Rather, they run it through this little, I don't know what you call it, this little machine that that vibrates and is also full of thousands of really heavy steel bearings. Not exactly ball bearings, they're more UFO shaped. And all of this actually pounds down on the surface of the pan and smooths out the more rougher spots. And this is what Jeff meant by there being crumbs on there. Yeah, lo and behold, there actually are some crumbs from the. That's all right. Just rub the rest of that off. But nonetheless. But anyway, that's what Lodge does. They actually do. They use those They use that little vibrator belt to pound down the surface of their pan so that yes, it is actually smooth. No, it is not glass smooth and polished, but it's smooth enough that it's really, really easy for a Lodge cast iron pan to hold on to the seasoning, and especially if you season it at home, it's really easy to do. As you can see, this little heart-shaped pan, even now, looks pretty darn good. I'll say again, I think this was a Lodge cookie skillet. Not Lodge, Walmart cookie skillet. One of those $5 ones. And from there, we're almost done here. Let's bring back this little guy here. Hope you don't mind the roller coaster ride tonight, folks. Here's the little froggy trivet, which once again is getting a Crisby treatment. A little bit on top. And yeah, actually, because of the way it's shaped, it sure did take a lot of it. So it's going to be pretty easy to cover every bit of this thing with seasoning. Little here, a little there. Maybe a little bit more on these edges. And from here, anyway, once this is all done and these things go into the oven, no, that's all right. Once this is done and these things all go into the oven, I'm going to heat this up to 300 degrees. Some of these I'll just give a second wiping off to. Some
very nice using scented beeswax because it smells delicious in here, and it smells like you're cooking something to eat, and it's not. It's supposed to smell terrible when you do seasoning.
Yeah, I know. That's
what. Now it smells like butterscotch.
Yeah, that's why I like this stuff.
Yeah, well, it's not very fair. Because I walk in and I'm like, oh, cookies. And I'm like, no, seasoned cast iron with nothing in it. God, yes.
So anyway, yeah, I'm going to be doing these for, where am I going to put this guy? I think I'll put him here for now. And here is the big, the number 8 that I washed off at the beginning. So now I get to fill in these little cracks here. They're not cracks. They're, again, just places where the seasoning has come loose or flaked off. In fact, even after it's done seasoning, I can see that it's still going to have some spots, but the spots will be filled in. And in fact, if I were to give this another couple of coats of seasoning, I wouldn't be surprised. This pan has been around for like several years. I would not be surprised if this is one of those pans I had originally seasoned with flaxseed oil, where, as you can see again, its seasoning has flaked off. And I'll say again, this one here is what we in the collectors call a Diamond 8. Ugh. One of the last pans made by Favorite Stove and Range after they were bought out by Chicago Hardware Foundry. So we're talking like maybe the late 30s or so. So there you go. This is again, the Diamond 8 here. This one was, in fact, my grandmother's skillet on my father's side. She had kept this for decades, passed it on to my dad before he passed on. And it was really, really incredibly thick with coated seasoning. I stripped it for him, and that's when we discovered it was, in fact, a Diamond 8 pan. So now I'm actually going to pass this on to a friend as well. So anyway, this is the first layer, I think. I'll probably give this another coating of seasoning to help fill in these little bits, but already this bit of seasoning at least will protect it from further rust. We're almost done. Maybe only a couple of little ones to go at this point. At least I think so. Oh yeah, how could I forget this one way back here? Ugh. Here's another one that folks may remember from not too long ago. This, in fact, is a 1940s lodge, which I'm holding upside down, in fact. Let me try it this way. 1940s 3-notch lodge, and it happens to be a number 6. So this was when Lodge did actually grind down and smooth their pans. It has some very nice milling marks on the inside, in fact. So yeah, this is a really nice smooth pan. And number 6 is an unusual size for Lodge. Not rare, but something you don't see very often. So yeah, this was one of those things that I came across. And yeah, definitely wanted to hold on to that one for that reason. Ugh. So give this a little bit of the old Crisby. Wipe this on. Boy, isn't this exciting. Oh, yeah. So, what did you do last night? Well, I actually went on YouTube Live, and people watched me wash old cast iron pans and bake them in the oven. Oh, yeah, this is such a fun hobby. Kind of like the old bit about going to a singles bar. You know, it's like she says, so what do? You know, I play Minecraft and Skyrim. Well, who, me? I season antique 19th and 20th century cast iron pots and pans in the oven with lard and beeswax. And she says, oh, okay, well, I'll see you later. That's a joke, by the way. No, that has not happened to me. So far, I've been fortunate in that when I've had relationships, they have almost all been very interested in cooking. And from there, now this little lodge here goes in the oven. Thank you, anybody who's actually stayed so far. Thank you for staying. And let's see. The number 8 goes in the oven. Gotta try to make room for it. That's one other problem. You don't want to put too many of these things. Hard to make them all fit. Ugh. There we go. Come on. Okay, I gotta grab this. There we go. There we go. Good. It worked. Here's the ashtray. Do this right. As I mentioned, this ashtray is going to continue being used as an ashtray, so I'm less concerned about whether or not it touches food because it's not going to. Nonetheless, all it takes is a little bit of seasoning to make this thing look pretty nice. So as you can see, this really did not take much effort at all. The reason why this has taken so long is because I'm seasoning several pans at once. I'm sorry? Yes.
I felt bad. I couldn't use it as an ashtray.
Okay. What, the ashtray or the skillet?
It's the ashtray one. So it's the cauldron ashtray one.
Yes, that's the one I'm reseasoning right now.
I'm saying I felt bad. I couldn't use it as an ashtray.
Well, I'd say you can go ahead and use it as an ashtray.
I can't. Something is like I cannot put cigarettes on it. It's terrible.
All right. Nonetheless, we're almost done, I promise. Yeah. Make this thing fit again so that it doesn't fall over. That would not be good. And the last one. Ugh. No, not the last one. There's one more yet that I need to show off. So thank you again for your patience, everyone. And that is the lid to that Griswold Dutch oven. Interesting thing about Griswold lids, I'm not sure if they're the only ones who did it, but I don't know any others. I don't think Wagner did this. The inside, in fact, is enameled. They actually put an enamel coating on the inside of their lids. I don't think they did it with all of them, but this is one of them, especially to help prevent rust. And it does a pretty good job of it, too. Somebody tonight was asking, what about lids? About whether or not lids, why lids always seem to require special attention. Yes, they do. And the reason for that, I think, is twofold. Number one, we don't use lids every single day in the same manner. Let me wipe some of these crumbs off. In the same manner that we do our actual cast iron pans. So this does not pick up seasoning as fast as cooking every day with a pan. So there's less of a chance that it's going to build up seasoning. The other thing, of course, is what do lids often do? They sit on top of a pan and collect steam and moisture. So that means there is more of a possibility that, unfortunately, rust can develop on a lid much faster or much more frequently than it could on a regular cast iron pan. And that may be one of the reasons why lids are much more scarce than actual pans, because a lot of people over the years did not use cast iron lids regularly, not like the way they use cast iron pans. Yes, I know Griswold collectors do, but not everyone had Griswold cast iron cookware. Most of them just had throwaway frying pans, from Lodge or BSR or the like. But nonetheless, even so, all you need is a quick seasoning with this Crisby here. And we've got ourselves a nice looking Griswold lid, which is going to go in the oven. And then we're finally just about done. Clang, clang, clang. It'll only take a few more seconds to do this last thing that I pointed out. The spag skillet, the ashtray skillet, which I'm not going to donate to the Whole Foods market where Spag stood. On the other hand, as I said, hopefully maybe there's a museum somewhere in this area that might be willing to take this. Anyway, it only takes a few seconds to get this one ready. Oh yeah, but notice as well, I'm using an old dishcloth now instead of those paper towels. It's a dollar store dishcloth, and this actually does a really good job as well for seasoning cast iron, because less chance of there being those crumbs from the paper towels. So there we go. Spag skillet. And now into the oven for the last time. Now from here, turn the temperature up to between 300 and 325. And probably in about 15 minutes or so, I'll be able to give some of these pans, not all of them, a second wipe down. The rougher ones, the Asian-made ones, and will not require a second wipe down. They will work just fine. They're not going to get stains or be mottled or anything like that. All right, finally, okay. I guess no pot roast, Ms. Thank you for staying. Okay, yeah, well, I know. Thank you very much, Peg. William Hurt, my lids always manage to get gooey all over again. Well, I hope that's a reasonable explanation why lids can be difficult, because they collect moisture and we don't use them as often as we actually use skillets and pots. So, Miss French Twist, I never use the lids. Yeah. The 3 dots and then select quality resolution. Oh, I cook it off. It's good, but it gets gooey again. Chris Durbin, my cast iron always needs to be stripped every spring before camping season. What can I do to prevent this? Well, one option is before it goes into storage, give it a coating of grease, like Crisco, for instance. And then from there, you could always just wrap it up. You don't have to wrap it up like a Christmas present, but just enough so that that can at least help prevent moisture from collecting. That's really what really ruins seasoning on cast iron pans more than anything else. I mean, that's why, as you know, when you go camping, it's very easy, for instance, to wake up the next day and find some rust on your pans, especially after being left out in the woods all night. So one other thing, though, I also learned from camping is that one thing we do is we actually keep vinegar in a spray bottle, because we have actually given a pan a quick spritz of vinegar, not heavy, but just a quick spritz, and that seems to have actually prevented the rust. Give it a try and see what you think. All right, and subscribe yesterday, NDN Pride. Well, thank you very much. So, Pawpaw Dan, do you use any special seasoning tricks for pans to be stored, or just a regular seasoning process? Well, that's what I mentioned just there for storing pans, and that's what I should have done, in fact, with that Diamond 8 there. I'm pretty sure, now that I'm thinking of it, it was originally seasoned with flaxseed, and yeah, the flaxseed flaked off, and as a result, some parts were exposed, and they ended up getting some rust on there. So what I should have done was just that, maybe just kept it, just loosely wrapped in plastic wrap or the like. So, but I did not. I left it out. And because it was really meant more as an heirloom to be passed on, I did not use it regularly, and there was the result. The seasoning did, in fact, flake off. So, Raymond, I make mine in the pressure cooker. Oh, I see. That's the talking about a pot roast. It's great, Ray. Bill LeBlanc, thanks. I'm not a PC. Thanks for the info. Linguafile 88. Oh, I see. Okay. Never used the lids. Let's see who else we have here. A clown car. Yeah, I know that. Yeah, that oven's like a clown car. In fact, that's the thing. It's like if you open your oven pretty much any day and you see a big pile of cast iron, well, you might have cast ironitis. And better yet, if you go to start heating up your oven for cooking and then realize you forgot to take all the cast iron out of the oven, you might have cast ironitis. This thumbs up. Well, again, thank you very much. Wow, we're already on we're already at an hour and 10 minutes. You make it sound that this is not fun. Actually, it is fun. I mean, what can I say? I do enjoy this. I mean, here I am. I've been talking practically nonstop for an hour and 10 minutes. Well, 8 minutes as I've been seasoning these cast irons. So yeah, I don't find it boring myself. If I was not talking to you folks, which I have no trouble at all, and I enjoy that, I probably would have been able to do this in less than half that time. So that really did not take very long in that respect. I've got an oven full of cast iron that I'm going to be seasoning. Now, as I mentioned, in a few more minutes or so, when the temperature reaches 300 to 325, I'm going to give a couple of those pans a second wipe down, especially to prevent the oil from spotting and pooling on it so that it'll look much more polished and smooth. After that, I'm going to heat it up then to 400 to 425 degrees and leave it there for 2 hours. That's when the smoke will start. Once it passes 400 degrees, that's when the smoke really collects. But fortunately, since I'm using Crisby, the smell is not going to be as bad as it could be. And I'm going to leave it like that for 2 hours. And then just going to turn off the oven, leave them in there, let it cool off overnight, because why not? And tomorrow I'll do it again. So yeah, because there's nothing wrong with letting it all cool off completely in between. I mean, after all, we have lives. Tonight's a work night. I can't stay up until 2 o'clock in the morning seasoning cast iron. I'm going to be running late as it is, but that's all right, because again, I just work from home, so I won't have any trouble tomorrow. And tomorrow, of course, is April 15th, and I know some of us do have some other things to do for April 15th. I took care of mine last night, thank goodness. But nonetheless, again, seasoning cast iron really is not that difficult. It does not take that long. Most of it is waiting more than anything else. Well, that waiting and also trying to keep the smoke alarm from going off. The windows are open, believe me, so that's one reason why a lot of people season their cast iron in the middle of the winter as well, because of the heat the stove gives off. And let's see what else we have here. I get dirty looks when I say I'm going to season pans. Oh, I don't doubt it. Oh, no, down the whole house is going to smell. Well, hey, the weather's nice. Get out while I season my pans. How about that? I have a 750 milliliter bottle of corn oil. Is there an application for that is especially favorable? I'd say try using it to season cast iron and see if that works. On the other hand, I find corn oil is really, really great for frying and deep frying. Besides the fact that it's corn and it goes really great with, say, cornbread, or even frying potatoes or deep frying chicken or the like. So, and it's not as expensive as peanut oil. I like using corn oil for that. Love the live chat. Well, thank you very much. And Pride. Any hard plastic tab I find to keep the moisture out. Yeah, that's the thing. As I said, for wrapping up your cast iron for storage, again, just loosely wrapping it up is probably the best thing to do there. That's why some people might even just put it in a trash bag and tie it up, so that'll certainly keep moisture from getting in. So I'd say give that a try. When flaxseed oil flakes, can you feel the flaked off spots, or do you lose the black color, glossy color of the pan? With flaxseed oil, yes, I can feel it. I'm look back, for instance, at those instances of the little round rust spots on the on that Diamond 8 pan. It feels like it's flaked off. Think of when an enameled pan cracks and the little pieces of enamel chip off. That is what seems to have happened with that Diamond 8 pan, and that's why I'm convinced that is one of those that I originally seasoned with flaxseed oil. The other pans, like that Griswold Dutch oven, for instance, the seasoning just wears off, and it's not like there are actually flakes or chips in the seasoning. In that one, all I had to do is just apply an even coating of the seasoning. But with the Diamond 8, I'm going to have to do that seasoning a few more times, or maybe even after I build my lye tank, maybe I should just simply soak it in the lye tank for a month and strip it completely and then season it from the beginning so that there will be no more flaxseed on it. I want to try peanut oil. Yeah, so expensive. Yeah. Peanut oil has a very high smoke point as well, but especially because it's so expensive, there's really no reason to use it. Peanut oil is great for frying, so fry with it. Again, you could use cheap Walmart brand Crisco, for instance, or even vegetable oil. You give it a try, and the results on your cast iron will probably be pretty good. In fact, they will be good, because before I started using Crisby, I was using vegetable oil. So I have no complaints about that. I guess I'll say one more time as well, for people who when you wash your cast iron every night after use, What you do then, of course, you wash it in the oven. Wash it in the oven. Did I just say that? You wash it in the sink. Some people do use dish soap. Some people don't. I don't, just because I don't see a need for it. You wash it, dry it off, heat it on the stove top to dry it off completely, and then don't use vegetable oil to grease your pans after a daily wash. Use Crisco, because Crisco takes weeks or months to go rancid and sticky, whereas vegetable oil will go rancid and sticky after just a few days. So your pans will last a lot longer for everyday use if you just wipe them down with Crisco after daily washing. Bill LeBlanc, pre-Crisby, I'd be seasoning when the wife gets home and I'd hear, "You cooking cast iron again?" Post-Crisby, it's, what you cooking? Yeah, that's exactly what Jamie said earlier tonight, too. Well, you could always tell your neighbors, "Well, who, me? Nah, I'm just relaxing today and smoking pot." Anyway, I've been using coconut oil, and well, if it works for you, again, feel free to do so. And that's what I mean. Even with flaxseed oil, even though I've been dissing flaxseed oil, if it works for you, go ahead and use it, because it's your cast iron. So I'm not going to dictate to you how you should take care of your pans. I am offering some advice based on experience, and not just my experience, but the experience of the cast iron cooking group, with its 400,000 people. So that, I like to think, is at least something of a voice of experience, and the advice you get on there is good, and I'm more than happy to pass it along. That's why I am not happy with flaxseed oil. I do not recommend it. If you want to use it, of course, go ahead and see what the results are for yourself. Seasoning a number 9 Wagner drip drop roaster and number 5 3-notch lodge while watching. Congratulations. Been using grapeseed oil lately, and I like it. Well, again, yeah. And again, feel free to send over some pictures too. I'm sure folks here will like that. So, can I use Crisco for the entire process of seasoning? Yes, you can. Again, the old video by Jeff Rogers, seasoning and maintaining cast iron. That one that's like, what is it now, 7 or 8 years old? Wow. Yeah. That may have been the first major hit video on YouTube for seasoning cast iron. In that one, he uses Crisco the entire way. He used a self-cleaning oven to strip the pans, and that's another subject that has caused some controversy since then. But after the pans were completely stripped, he started out doing this exact same method. Heat the pan to 200 degrees. He applied Crisco and then wiped most of it off. Then he heated the pans to 300 degrees. And in fact, it's about time to do that now. And just give some of them a good wiping. And then after that, he heated them to 400 degrees and left them alone for another 2 hours or so. Yeah, that's the Crisby. Okay, now, as I mentioned, what I've found from experience is that not all of these have to be wiped down at 300 degrees. The really, really smooth ones, namely the vintage ones, are the ones that I do give a second wiping to, such as this Diamond 8. And yeah, actually, let me give you another close-up of that. This is why I think this thing was, in fact, seasoned with flaxseed. You see those little spots in there? That's where the seasoning flaked off or chipped off even, just like enamel has chipped off. This is not enamel. That's why I'm pretty sure this is one that I had originally done with flaxseed oil. Now, though, because we've got another layer of seasoning over those spots, at least I know they are not going to rust. I'm probably going to have to season this thing several times more, or like I said, maybe I'll just strip it completely and season it completely from scratch. But either way, because the surface is so smooth, that's why I'm giving it a second wipe down now. And clang. Yeah. Let's move this guy over somewhere. Here we go. The other one I want to give a wipe down to. Careful there. The other one I want to give a wipe down to way back when. Remember I mentioned. There we go. The Stargazer. As I said, this one was so smooth that it's had trouble keeping the seasoning. So I don't want the seasoning to get all mottled on here. That's why I'm giving it a quick wipe down, at least the inside. And in the oven it goes. Clang, clang, clang. I'll bet the old timers will remember Fibber McGee's closet. Oh no, don't open the closet! Clang, 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 clang. And having said that, now that, oh, that's a long story, so I only have a toaster oven for now. Oh, that sounds interesting. Okay, and now from here, we do the last step before retiring for the night. And that is, we once again turn the temperature up. Now we go to 400 degrees, or between 400 and 425. And with that, we are now going to leave it. It's going to leave it. Going to take maybe about another 15 minutes or so to heat up to 400, 425. Here's where the smoke is going to start. Fortunately, as I mentioned, these pans are seasoned with Crispy, so it's not going to be that bad. It'll still be noticeable, though. And I'm going to leave it for 2 hours. Then I'm just going to turn it off and let it cool off overnight. Then tomorrow we're going to do it again. And that's really basically seasoning cast iron. There are a whole bunch of videos now on YouTube on seasoning cast iron, and a whole lot of people are starting their own cooking channels pretty much the same way, maintenance and cast iron. And it's always, if not the first video, the second video, it's always going to be how I season cast iron and how I wash cast iron. And more power to them, because as I said, there are dozens of ways to season cast iron, and this is just one of them. Some of them, no, I do not recommend. I do not recommend throwing it in the fire. I do not recommend using a wire brush or drill, on a drill or anything like that to remove old seasoning. I do not recommend using a self-cleaning oven, because self-cleaning ovens generally, much like throwing in the fire, generally, in most instances, there should not be a problem. It will burn off the seasoning, and you'll just have a lot of ash in the oven, and the iron will be bare and ready to season. However, there have been reports of people finding their ovens being damaged because, of course, the self-cleaning oven is designed to work with an empty oven. It's not designed to work with pounds and pounds of heavy iron in the center. So it may actually get too hot, or the heat may be improperly distributed, and the oven itself could be damaged. Could be, not will be. There are people who will say, I use the self-cleaning oven all the time. Okay. And that's why I say the risk is small, but it is there. Just like throwing it in the fire. Which is why I don't recommend using a self-cleaning oven, because there are many safer methods. There are methods that will not damage your oven or your cast iron. So, I mean, there's no reason really to take even a small chance when there are very, very easy methods like the one I used tonight that are safe and will not damage your cast iron or your oven or the like. They will stink up the house, but, well, that's what this hobby is all about, I guess. Okay, I thought cast iron cookware seasons itself as you use it. That's also true, yes. It really depends on how you use it. I mean, I admit I do abuse my cast iron in a number of ways. As I mentioned, that Diamond 8 pan, I actually did not use on a regular basis. I seasoned it, I'm pretty sure it was with flaxseed oil, left it for a few years, and as a result, the seasoning dried up and flaked off. The Griswold Dutch oven I used a lot of times for boiling water, making things like mashed potatoes. Yes, you can boil water in bare cast iron, but you should not do that exclusively. You should keep making greasy stuff in your cast iron, because that does help to add on to the seasoning. That's why some people, as they say, I've had my cast iron pan on the stove for decades. It is smooth as glass or smooth as silk. I've never had to season it, and you're doing it right. What I'm doing here shows that I'm not doing it right because I'm doing things to my cast iron that are wearing off the seasoning. And well, when that happens, then it's time to reseason. Shadow Walker XM. Maybe we could have a group Zoom meeting and or roundtable discussion sometime. Well, I'd like to give that a try. I don't see why not, and see how that all turns out. Brian, Star of Chaos. Yes, that's exactly what this is, actually, the Star of Chaos. No, really, that is what it is. I have actually been accused of being a Satanist for wearing this thing. And that is a completely different subject for that. I will say, no, I am not a Satanist. I've known some Satanists. I actually dated one for a while. But that, again, is another subject completely. Okay. That's about time now. So, yeah, that's fine. Let him out. Okay. Yeah, that's about it. Pawpaw Dan. Jamie's brownies were a hit. Tell her thanks for the recipe. Thanks for advice on seasoning by using grapeseed oil. Anyway, he really enjoyed your brownies, and so did his kids. Yeah, they're the best bleeping brownies ever. Yeah, I like the Stargazer necklace. Oh, that's why he talked about it that way. Yeah, it is. I do have to admit, yes, that was one small reason, not the number one reason why I got the Stargazer pan. I kind of felt for temptation for that because, yes, it did actually have this little star symbol on it. I mean, hey, we all have our reasons for why we want to pick up some things. I mean, that's why, for instance, those made in America skillets from Lodge or the Cracker Barrel skillets are popular because they've got those cute designs on the bottom. Doesn't affect cooking at all, but it's nice to own one of those things. Speaking of which, we should be seeing a new made in America skillet from Lodge any day. And we should also be seeing a new Cracker Barrel skillet any day also. And I'm looking forward to seeing what they're like this year, too. I think Lodge's design for the Made in America is a little more, what's a good word, artistic than the Cracker Barrel ones. I mean, the Cracker Barrels lately have looked a little garish. And while there's nothing really wrong with that, I mean, I did get their Paul Revere pan a couple of years ago, but I think the design of the Lodge ones has been very, very nice. Okay, having said all that, let me do one last thing here. Brownies were a hit. First video said to use flax, so I bought several bottles. Walmart doesn't keep it in stock much, but I've lost the black color. The pans are as smooth as they can be. IDK problem. Well, as I said, if it works for you, then just you can go ahead and keep using it. Beyond that, well, you could always donate them to other cast iron users. First time watcher from Ontario, Canada. Welcome and thank you very much. Sorry. Mint Crisco, bacon fat, and duck fat combo. Well, that sounds good to me. I'd say mix it up, give it a try, and see how well it works. So my self-cleaning oven is broken. Well, best of luck. What are your recommendations for a skincare routine? You're positively glowing. Well, here's the secret. I'm pregnant. Yeah, no. So, yeah. No, actually, I'm glowing because I've got a spotlight here on the other side of the kitchen because as I found out the hard way, lighting in these videos is really, really hard. So, no.
Funny,
Yeah, no.
Funny.
Yeah. No, that's what.
Make fun of the girl with spots on her face.
No.
I know.
Yeah. Boiling all that cream and broth for your garlic chicken is tough on the seasoning. Worth it, though. I made chicken or pork in marsala style sauce all the time in my lodge. Oh, yeah, that sounds good. Chicken marsala. It's yet another thing. It's been a long time since I made, and I've really got to do that again. But yes, that will affect the seasoning. Or likewise, cooking with heavy alcohol, like wine and beer and the like. If you do that on a regular basis, that will affect the seasoning also. Probably the best thing to do in those instances is to alternate. It's like once in a while make the wine-based braised dishes, or once in a while make your boiled mashed potatoes in bare cast iron. But the rest of the time, use safe stuff. You know, the good old bacon and the eggs and the steak and the cornbread. And oh, now I'm hungry. Okay, will you look into checking out the gearing on your mixer? I can send a link that is comprehensive. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, now I remember. Yeah, that mixer does sound like it's really straining, doesn't it? I will have to indeed have it checked out. I think there is a KitchenAid repair service in the town I'm in. So how about serving on cast iron? Well, why not? That's a good reason for to have a big collection. For instance, I've got like about 8 number 5 skillets, for instance. They are actually really good as plates to eat off of. So consider that. Okay. Yay, Trouble. Trouble's got himself a fan or two here. Nonetheless, we are getting in time as well. Yet again, I wasn't sure if I was going to actually keep this thing going this long, but look at this. We've hit an hour and a half. So, what do you know about blue Dutch ovens, speckled blue and white? Speckled blue and white. Not very much. When I see speckled, I often wonder if they are cast iron, because I know those enamel, what are they? The granite ware ones. They are very popular with a speckled design, so maybe they might not even be cast iron. Otherwise, you know, no enamel cast iron has been made in the U.S. for decades. So that would have to almost certainly mean it's either from Asia or Europe. Okay, that's really a long subject in itself. So I've seed red. Okay. For me, tomato sauce really did a number on a pan using canned tomatoes. Yeah, there we go. That's another thing. So that, again, yes, you can affect the seasoning if you use those things too much. Once in a while, yeah, but otherwise you may end up like I did, and you have to just keep, just have to reseason it. So, okay. All inspired me to use cast iron almost exclusively for indoor use and a lot for outdoor use. Well, I can only hope you enjoy it. I know I have. This is, in fact, I said last week that I wanted to do a video for the 10th anniversary of the Cast Iron Cooking Group on Facebook. But really, it's like, since it's a Facebook group, I should really do the anniversary video there. So I intend to do so by this weekend. And then I think I'll probably post it here just so that folks can watch. But as I said, the Cast Iron Cooking Group on Facebook has an unofficial 10th anniversary right about now. It started out as a Facebook page, and then after a year or so, I had to close the page because of Facebook and started as a group. So officially, the group says it was founded in 2012, but it was actually founded in 2011. And that's going to come hopefully by the weekend or so. All right. Nonetheless, yeah, I'd say we are running on here. So I mean, serving thin foods on my very hot cast iron, like in Asia. I love it. Oh, yeah, really a sizzle server, in fact, what they call those fajita pans. Really, it's like if you serve a nice sizzling dish like that, that is a great crowd pleaser. I definitely recommend it. Okay. As I said, we're past an hour and a half now, really, and there's still so much more to talk about. So, well, what can I say? We will have to continue this at some other time pretty soon. Otherwise, well, thank you everybody for staying this long as well. I mean, we've got more people now than we probably had an hour ago. So thank you very, very much. Oops. Yep. Here we go. Excuse me. That's another reason why this is going on too long. Come on. Guess what, folks? I'm seasoning cast iron. How can you tell? So yes, that. What? Yeah. Yeah, because the bedroom door was left open. Well, okay, yeah, and the fan's not on. I better turn on the fan. I am closing up now because we are again past an hour and a half. So, yep. So yeah, as you can see, that happens to everybody who seasons cast iron, and that's really nothing extraordinary about that. But as I said, we've gone on quite a long time here, and we're just going to have to say to be continued at this point. So I can only thank everybody for showing up and for staying this long. So, I mean, wow. This has been a lot of fun, actually. I've enjoyed this chat tonight, and I really hope you folks have. I don't want this to make this like a one-way thing. I really like the participation. That more than anything else is what makes these things so much fun. And once again, thank you very much to everybody. Yeah, thank you for you too, for taking care of trouble, for instance. So, yeah. And having said that, it's really time to get on with this. So, once again, thank you for stopping by, everyone, and we'll see you next Wednesday. Have a good evening, everyone. Meow.